So thank you. Good morning. So I'm the single person in the room, I suspect, who doesn't have a PhD. So I hope you will forgive me for that. But as I was rightly pointed to, well, man, there is still time, so never know. But the good news is that tomorrow morning you will have my good colleague Mario Kadastik, and he actually does have a PhD, so it's okay. So there are some members of parliament also with a PhD degree. I very much liked the two first slides, with the university, which has adapted to the disruption around it, and the duck who was sitting on a tree. So basically, it's all in our hands. Where we see the limit and how we can come around it. I have 3 points I will share with you. The first one is fairly straightforward. Disruptive change around us is shaping the future. And it has 3 components. We have acute climate crisis. Yes, it's nice and sunny here, but it has been warmer than usual, and it's not obviously only here, but around the globe. So that's a real challenge we need to face, and where science really has an important element to help to solve. The related point is technology. We are in the middle of a disruptive technological transformation, which you from the tech side or the science side know much more than I do. But if I look at the speed of a change, what is happening, then it is certainly faster than it was quarter of century or past quarter of century, and of course the past quarter of century has been the fastest in last 100 years. So we are really in a very high speed technology change. And then we have a war in Europe. That hasn't been here since of a scale. What we see in Ukraine with Russian aggression, it dates back to the days of the Second World War. So this is the world we live in, and that is very much shaping everything what we do. Now on the climate, in the Nordics, of course it has been already a long tradition, and you have been very much sort of on the forefront of the agenda. But also here, we have set the target to produce at least 100% of electricity we consume in Estonia from renewables by 2030. And 2030 is tomorrow. So we will for sure make our part. And that also implies that there will be a lot of investment in modern technologies, including the computing power, which actually consumes increasingly more of energy. And then the question is, what is the footprint, what these sort of good technologies actually live on Earth, and how we can mitigate it. And then, of course, again, as I'm not a scientist, but I have done a little bit of reading. Of course, quantum computing would here help, because it just does things faster. And then, sort of on the comparable terms, you should have a smaller energy footprint. If I was wrong, then I stand to be corrected. And then about AI. I'm not a tech person. I'm not a scientist either. Just one of the many users of science and technology. AI used to be a buzzword for many until ChatGPT came. Then for most people, I think there was a clear association that, okay, there is actually something, it does exist. For those in the industry or in the science, I mean, this was not a great discovery. It has all been around for about decades. But it is something what again will help us big time going forward. And then there is certainly a need for scientific breakthroughs to bring the AI to the next levels. So it's not large language models alone what would change the world. It's much broader application of AI, what you have been also working on. The organization, NAIC, is about connectivity, and this really has a big relevance. And in these days it has a relevance also from a different angle. When we think of connectivity, it's also about the security of the connections. And what we have seen here in the Gulf of Finland with gas connector, that physical infrastructure, what has always been something what is considered untouchable, no longer is. And we are connected through the seabed cables between the continents, across the Gulf here and across the sea. So making these connections secure is really important. You will have today a presentation about cybersecurity. When I became a minister, I thought cybersecurity is for tech guys, so that's not for me. And that was one of the biggest misjudgments I have professionally made. Fortunately, I turned out to be capable of learning, and this became my top priority in the minister's position. And some things worked out really well. You may have heard that we have been pretty thoroughly tested how resilient we are. And 2007 cyber attacks compared to what we see today is really like a microscopic part. So we probably rank among the top 10 nations globally in terms of being checked on the DDoS and other cyber activity. But things are up and running. So, but this is a sort of a permanent exercise what we need to do. And the biggest learning for me was it's not for a tech guy, it is for a C-level. It has to be the responsibility of a top leader in the organization that the IT systems, what they are using, are safe and secure. And it goes very much also to the trust to the system, because if we think about the data leaks, I mean, you need a lot of data for scientific discoveries. Oftentimes it is, if we talk about health tech, for example, it also involves very sensitive personal data. If this is going to leak, I mean, people will freak out, politicians will freak out, and it will be a major break on the science. So that's why sort of taking care of this, I would say, hygienic factors is really important. And the war. I mean, this war, yes, it is still like it used to be fought in the First or Second World War, but it has a heavy component of technology. All the drones, GPS jamming, and this is also something where, again, I think science has a big role to play to work out the mitigating solutions. I mean, we are not going to get rid of the wars, unfortunately, but we can do ourselves more resilient as societies on the democratic side of the world and to prepare. And that's why the scientific contribution is really important also here. So the second point, we are in a global competition. And because of this nature of a disruptive change, the balance of power is being redistributed. So there is a big, great power competition between EU, US, and China. And how we come out of it in Europe and in the region here is very much also depending on our ambition, on our boldness, and our willingness to act like this university which was bombed, or this duck who was sitting on the tree. I think we have all the potential in Europe to be the leader of the world. It is just very much in our own hand. And it was mentioned already, Estonia is a small country, very much agree. Collectively, Nordic Baltic region on a global scale is not much bigger. So we are small, which means one, we need to collaborate, and this is precisely what we are doing here, and you are doing here. And the second point is size actually gives you flexibility. It has been an interesting counterintuitive fact that why Estonia has had so many startups despite of its size. But the size actually has been a key driver. There is no point to invent something what works only in Estonia. You need to invent something what works around the world. And that's why, coming from this small place, you actually are forced to design something what works not only here, but works everywhere. And that gives you quite a bit of flexibility if you have ambition. So the other point, what I have seen between the collaboration between universities and businesses, which I think is also very important. I'm a member of advisory board of IRA, which is AI and Robotics Estonia, which is part of EDIH group, so European Digital Innovation Hubs. And there are big number small and medium-sized companies who are really interested in AI and machine learning and robotics to make their processes more efficient. They are of different age, could be a startup, could be a few years old company, but could easily be a 25-year-old company. And this is where I see really two forces coming together. The scientific part, who is helping to solve a practical problem what the company has, and then this sort of the trust question what used to be there, that okay, so for a business I want to move fast, sort of universities would like to take more time, and then the two don't speak the same language. But it's actually merging very well. I mean, there is a growing number of cases and growing interest in the field. So, and this is what we need. And we need also a lot more scientific discoveries, a lot more using of AI data in the policy making. We have a lot of data here in Estonia. I think we are using only a fraction of it, really small fraction of it in designing the policies. So this is where, again, I think where science can come to help. On a quantum computing, as we have been pioneering a lot about the single digital secure ID, which is based on cryptography. And then the question is, with all the quantum computing coming, so what happens with this cryptography? Well, this is still, I understand, years away, but we obviously need to prepare. But the other point which goes to the health tech is not that much about really the speed of a science, but the speed of a process. I was having a chat with some health tech founders who were really frustrated that if you want to get your product or a solution to the clinical trials, the time what is required for all the paperwork and other things is like months. And for a startup or for a business, many months or a year is way too long. So this is where I think we need to jointly see how we can take down these fears what do exist and maybe are behind these slow processes. But we sort of population is aging, our healthcare needs are more demanding, and obviously we need then science and technology to a bigger part compared to what it does today. And this is where I think the rulemaking has also important part to play. Last week we had the biggest, one of the biggest tech events in Tallinn of a region named Latitude 59. About 3,500 people, more than 60 countries around the world represented, a lot of hungry, ambitious people packed into, well, not too huge rooms. And there was one important discovery, again, on Europe and just based on facts. We are already outcompeting the US in terms of talent attraction and in terms of capital investment growth in the startup industry. And these are important statistics. We just need to be more vocal in Europe in talking it, and then we will get even more attraction. And I think for a start, I feel a lot of similarity between science and startup world, because both are discovering. The pace is different, but I think the discovery nature is really in it. And this is why I'm very, very confident about the future of Europe, as we certainly offer here very, very good quality of life, particularly in this region. And this is what is attractive to a talent. This is the number one criterion what makes people to stay or move. And one additional region, I think, also perhaps from a scientific point of view, what deserves keeping an eye on, that's the Gulf region. When I visit United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia, they are doing a lot in terms of investment to AI, healthcare, and other things. So this is going to be the fastest growing region in the world for the next 10 years to come. And that leaves me with the last point. So what is our ambition? Where we want to be 5 years from now? And I think we shouldn't be satisfied to nothing less than be the best in the world in terms of science, in terms of place to live, and then we can really work and do things what make the world a better place for everybody. We have been in Estonia building the digital society in a private-public partnership, so PPP, everybody knows the acronym. I think one letter is missing in this acronym, and I think what we need to have is private-public science partnership, because we need it increasingly more, and I don't want to put science and public together because it is different. But if we can forge it and make it to work, it's all great. And then we don't have to copy anybody in Europe. Let Europe do Europe. Thank you very much, and have a great conference here in Tallinn. Don't get sunburned, and enjoy the bus and people, the places we have around there. Thank you very much.